Today, we're going to be talking about gun violence in Chicago. I'm sure many of you know, we're all from Chicago. I'm from Chicago, Emily is from Chicago, and Camilla, who's joining us today to speak about gun violence, is also from Chicago. Yes. And we're in Chicago. This is the Culture War Podcast. So thanks for joining us. My name is Tim Poole. I'm a journalist. Joining me today, we have...
I'm Camilla Williams, the outraged millennial. Born and raised in Chicago, lived on the south and east side of Chicago. So I know the streets of Chicago, a part of Chicago that is often ignored, but always talked about for a political platform or to just for coverage. But I actually have an investment. My pain is there. My trauma is there.
And I'm Emily Molly. I'm also a journalist, and I met Camilla doing interviews with you about gang violence and gun violence in the past. And so I think the last couple times I talked to you were either at events, I think during the Laquan Law march out in front of the Chicago police station. Mm-hmm. And now you just came from Dr. Wilson, right?
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, yes.
And he's running for mayor.
Mayor of Chicago.
Yeah, so what is it about his platform that you like?
I mean, with Dr. Wilson, first, I'm not just anyone just to endorse anyone. Mm-hmm. I have to follow you, and I have to see your base. And to me, he has proven himself just being in the community with his philanthropy work. Many laws that he has gotten passed these past 4 years that we have had Rauner. You know, with the mandatory sentencing, you know, with the reducing the bail. It's just so much. The property taxes, what he's getting ready to do with the families who been victims of violence. A lot of people don't know that he lost his son to gun violence. So to us in the community, that we understand your trauma. And he's like, listen, something needs to be done. And he's a man that sees the entire Chicago to really make it a one Chicago and not just, I'm going to deal with Navy Pier for the TIF dollars. But he understand it all. He understand the trauma, losing a child, what it's like to start a business, trying to, the educational barriers. And I don't think that it's fair that people talk about that he cannot speak well. But, I mean, look at all the people that have spoken well before us. All of them speak well in city council, but ain't nobody doing nothing about gun violence.
We've had some presidents that can't speak well.
Yeah, George Bush.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of jokes. I tweeted that I was in Chicago, and I got a bunch of responses. People were like, be careful. Like, watch out, Tim. Don't go to the south side.
Well,
I'm from the southwest side by Midway Airport. It's relatively bad. It's not as bad.
It is.
Yeah. There was I have a friend of mine. One day he went out in the back to take his garbage out, and he saw two guys dragging a carpet with feet hanging out the back of it. And the next day on the news, the body was found in his alley in a dumpster.
I mean, it's parts of Chicago that's phenomenal, and it's parts in Chicago on the south side that's phenomenal. Yeah. The issue is that our leadership is divesting our communities. Our young people are being traumatized. So when you're traumatized and you don't have an outlet, you do not have a place where you can come to talk about that your loved one was killed or your friend was killed and that you're angry, and you just have to continuously deal with it, and nothing is being done from the police, from the politician, you get upset. And then you start fearing for your life. And when you see when you're a person that does not see any hope for yourself or in your community, what you do? You adapt to that lifestyle and you pick up a gun and then you retaliate.
Yeah.
For instance, the person who murdered someone that I helped raise, which is my cousin, decided to make a video and brag about it. But because there's no witnesses that will willingly come forth and sign that they saw it and testify, it's basically freedom of speech. So to me, it's like, this is a video that I see on YouTube and social media. And the artist that did it, we have 40 mutual friends. So 40 mutual plus people that I may know that you murdered someone that was close to me. So how do you think that makes me feel? How do you think that makes the community feel that he came up in, the rest of my family that do not know how to cope feel? You feel that rage and that fire, like, okay, CPD is not gonna help me. Nobody is gonna help me. You took something that was near and dear to my heart, so let me fix that situation. And that's how you have a lot of retaliation shootings. So a lot of these shootings in Chicago is retaliation shootings. It's fearful shootings. Oh, you got on the internet and said you was gonna kill me, so let me get you first. That's basically what it is. It's not. It's over drugs, over territory. It's about you killed my dead friend, or you shot my brother, or you shot up my block, or you embarrassed me on social media.
Do you think social media has made it worse?
I think social media has highlighted it.
Yeah.
I think social media has highlighted, and it also gave it a platform, YouTube. But I mean, they've been beefing with each other.
Yeah.
Drill music came out in 2007.
Right.
Yeah.
During my high school years. So, King Louis and I, same age, same era.
Like, how did it all start? Because I feel like there's a culture.
It is.
From where I grew up, everyone was joining gangs, doing drugs, and
I mean, it's now cliquish. It's about cliques. It's not even gang banging no more, because you got some people from the Stone faction connected to the Black Disciple faction, and they hanging with each other to go shoot another person that's connected to the Stone faction. It's about clicking and how you connect with that person. Unfortunately, it sounds terrible, but I'm like, aren't y'all okay? All right, but it's about clicking. It's about belonging. Another thing, when you're talking about violence, is that a lot of young people crave attention. And some people, like, it don't matter how I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. Like, you take that video that you seen in Harvey, you see, I don't know why they did it, but it was a couple of guys, it's about 20 of them, made a video. They had ankle bracelets on. They had guns, drugs, dogs, dead dogs, crack, cocaine. They put it on the internet, and the Harvey police came and raided. In Harvey, these young people, which is outside of Chicago, they glorified killing dead dogs, crack, drugs, weed, guns, on house arrest, and the police end up raiding it. And you can see that when they did get out, some of them, they were like glorifying the fact, talking about we're famous.
Yeah.
Including my students. I had a couple of students that did stuff that made it at the time to World Star Hip Hop, and they'll come in, we World Star famous now. I was like, oh my God. So you World Star famous from beating up a girl?
Wow.
So it don't matter. Attention is attention, whether it's good or it's bad. But a lot of people like, listen, as long as people paying attention to me and nobody is paying attention to me at home, I'm gonna go get it.
When a lot of people always talk about how dangerous Chicago is, and then the response I hear is, yeah, but it's the gangs and it's drugs.
Nah, it's if you say drugs, it's the drugs that are being pumped into people's bodies.
Yeah.
The Xanax.
Not the dealing drug.
Nah, I mean, because if you really think about it, what's popular? I mean, you look like a millennial. It's Xanax. It's weed. It's
Adderall.
It's not the and people with a little money, they may do the little cocaine, but it's basically what behavior medicine that they are in tune to. People rarely do ecstasy because they got the whole Xans now, so there ain't nobody shooting over no bipolar medicine. I ain't never heard about nobody killing somebody over some bipolar medicine when they just go play crazy and get them themselves.
So it's really hard to get guns here in Illinois, right? And ammunition and things like that.
It's a conversation that really needs to be had that people are not trying to have a conversation about. They just focusing on background check. They're not checking for the loopholes in it. So I always talk about when I got my hands on a gun when I was in elementary school. And I'm going to tell you, I don't even know where that gun is at. I don't even know how he got that gun. But I can tell you, knowing the laws now, none of us was 21 with a FOIA card when we were playing with guns in my community. And this was over in Lutheran Plaza. So right past Western before California. We was in that area. So it's like, how did we get... Matter of fact, we weren't even 18. We weren't even 16. We weren't even halfway. We was like, what, 12, 13? Playing with them, sharing them. Because I kept it in our attic. Because when my mama found it, she threw it in the garbage. And we went in and got it out the garbage. Like, seriously, you threw it in the garbage and we know what time the garbage truck come. And we got it out and we put it in the attic.
Wow.
So everybody on that block knew if they needed it, they can come get it. So it was like the block gun.
Whoa.
Wow.
So, we're not having those conversations about the access. Again, I will tell you, I don't even know how this person got the gun. But I can tell you that the person who gave us the gun ended up murdering somebody. But he was acquitted of murder because it was self-defense.
Why did you get a gun?
I mean, just... And anybody that actually grew up in Chicago know when you cross different gang territories. And I'm not even say gang territory. I'm going to say neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, so, I don't know what high school you went to. What high school you went to?
I briefly went to Kennedy.
Okay, Kennedy. So, who was y'all rival school?
Oh, I don't know. I was only there for like 2 months.
Okay. So, you know how each high school or have a rival school?
Yeah.
That was basically how it was in the community. Like, Maplewood would try to be like they better than Tallman. So then they get into it and they get to fighting. And then for so long, you're not going to keep fighting. You're going to bring in the knives, you're going to bring in the guns, and that's how it was. But for me, speaking from my perspective and how I felt, that gun made me feel like I was just the Incredible Hulk. I was the ish. Like, man, look, I'm walking down the street and y'all can be standing right here. I'm just going to walk smack in between y'all and y'all ain't going to say nothing about it. It makes you feel powerful.
Sure.
Because who getting ready to talk crazy to you? Who getting ready to correct you when you got a gun?
Mm.
Who getting ready to try to fight you? Who getting ready to try to jump you? So
Nobody.
Exactly. So guns make people feel powerful. And unfortunately, guns, it gives people opportunity. I know they gonna twist it what I say, but a lot of people use guns so that they can eat.
Yeah.
Either they gonna sell them or they gonna go rob somebody with it.
Mm.
And people think that, these young people are out here selling drugs because they want the latest Jordans or they want rims. It's people that I grew up with that's selling just weed, making $120 a week with no house, but they living in a trap house just to eat, just to pay a $30 to $40 cell phone bill, putting their lives on the line. Smart young people, but no investment in the community. The village was broke down.
Yeah.
I know we have a mutual friend, Tamika, who does a lot of stuff with yoga and trying to help people who have emotional problems.
I mean, Tamika has been amazing.
Yeah.
So she helped me through the process of 2016. That was like one of the worst years for me in the movement. Like, I knew I had PTSD, and a lot of people say that's a stigma, but I have to talk about it. Mm-hmm. I've been in the movement for 12 years, fighting constantly. Think about it. With all my losses, seeing, and it's just not my personal losses, but the losses that you see on TV and when you meet the family, the losses that you see in America. And, just 2016 of me lobbying, me going to jail at the in D.C. for standing up against, for guns and gun violence, to me actually losing 5 African-American males under the age of 25. And at my cousin's funeral, I just passed out. And when I got the news that he died before the funeral, I just, like, my body just went limp. And I was just in so much pain. I mean, I'm still in pain. And it's like, if it wasn't for her to kind of help me to deal with the trauma with breathing, and I can openly say this, I'm getting professional help for my trauma. Because if I didn't get professional help, and I know the CPD is not trying to do what they need to do, I will possibly continue the cycle of violence. Because again, it's on social media who murdered my loved ones. So Tamika has, with teaching me how to breathe, teaching me how to just take time out for myself and focus. And that's what we need.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of it comes from an impulse, an emotional impulse.
Yeah, it's very emotional. I mean, you a lot of people don't know that you can cry without crying tears. You can cry in your body. And I've experienced that internally. Like when they was getting ready to close my cousin's casket, it's just like people may say, "Nah, you making it up," but I can literally just all the people that I've seen buried in the last 12 years, from Blair to Terrell to Hadid to my loved ones to Kyla Holmes. It all came back, and that's how I just let out the loudest scream ever.
So what do you think about the gun debate?
This not the right. You talking about the guy that's doing the tour?
Oh, I just mean the general. People are calling for gun control.
Ain't nobody paying attention to that, and they piss me off with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they piss me off with it because they don't listen. Background checks. We have a background check. We have a Cook County assault weapons ban. What are you doing? Let's talk about accountability from the gun dealers to the gun owners, but then see how we can figure out how to talk to the border type thing. Like when I went to a gun shop and he told me it was $42 to transfer the license over from Indiana to, Illinois. Okay, let's figure out, are you doing that legally or illegally? And then when we're talking about a lot of these shootings, a lot of these young guys and young girls who go get these guns and bring them back to the community to sell them or give them to their friends, they're not convicted felonies. They just are affiliated with a lot of gangs or cliques, depends on how you want to swing it. We're not having those conversations. We're not also, matter of fact, just if you want to take the gun debate off the table, and we tried to tell these gun groups, and I would hope to tell the NRA one day, okay, if you say that you don't want criminals to get guns and people with disabilities, mental illness, fine. But in our community, help us reinvest in our community for trauma, for the closing schools, for parks, for healthy eating. Help us build up the deprived areas and see the violence drive to its lowest, because that's what we missing. I mean, I believe in a way that we do need gun laws in certain aspects, but I'm not gonna say that that's the sole answer for Chicago. To be honest, that's like, and it took me a while to see it. That's the last answer for Chicago right now.
I mean, you said you had a gun when you were 12 years old?
Do
you still feel like you need a gun? Do guns still make you feel powerful?
Listen, I have a FOIA card now, and I'm a concealed carry holder.
Whoa.
So,
is that hard? That's in Illinois. That's tough, right?
Nah, because when I got it, when I got the FOIA card, I mean, it was kind of like new. And someone said a while ago, how could Camilla take guns from somebody else but want to feel safe? And I'm like, I'm not trying to take guns. I'm trying to keep you safe by telling the truth on how people that I grew up with, that I know will go shoot your mama, your cousin, the dogs, everybody that you know, because they do not have a convicted felony. They're not a convicted felon. That's what I want to stop. I ain't trying to take everybody guns. I'm trying to stop the 12-year-old self that has been more traumatized than I was at 12, because now you have 9-year-olds being killed and 7-year-olds being killed and 6-year-olds. So look at their classmates scared. Yeah. They will probably go get a gun and shoot and kill somebody. That's what we trying to stop. I don't care nothing about what you got a whole gun factory in your basement and it's legal. Now if it's not legal, then we got a problem. And that's just not for white people. That's for everybody, even the people that I know, like a couple of my cousins and family members and friends, and I tell them, listen, if y'all got illegal guns and y'all tell me, I'm tricking. If I know where these Boca guns are at in the community and it's not legal, I'm telling. I'm snitching.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, snitches get stitches.
I don't care. And I'm gonna be honest with you. In the community, they do tell. Because I got inbox messages, they be like, hey, such that shot that 7-year-old, they came from this area. But I understand why they can't go to the police. Because I remember I took a witness down to the police, and the person that was in the lineup came right into the witness room and looked at us.
Oof.
Whoa.
And then he told her she had to sign, but he was also telling her that what she said matched up to this person that stayed in this area. So she like, if you can give us his address, what about the next witness?
Yeah.
I don't want no parts. And I looked down and said, that was like my brother. I want justice for him, but I understand.
Yeah.
I understand your safety. But that's a whole nother debate with the police in the community.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about the police? I've got I don't have a lot of positive opinions about
I don't have no positive opinions about them neither, because first of all, I'm upset that a lot of elected officials still giving them money, finding grant money. How do you find federal dollars and state dollars to continuously to fund the police department? Talking about community policing. First and foremost, until we get convictions and sentencing and folks going to jail for killing and raping and beating and harassing American citizens, whether you black or white, Hispanic, Asian, it don't matter. You're never going to have a community that trusts police. Period. I don't care how you look at it. Because you're seeing a police that's attacking 65-year-old women, killing 5-year-old kids, and they're walking.
Yeah,
and look at what they're doing to the mental illness population.
Yeah,
killing them.
Yeah,
killing them. You know, before I left my job, you know, and I hated that I did, but I wanted to do something else. A lot of my students suffer from emotional, mental. They have episodes. By law, from the state of Illinois, we have to get trained in August before the kids come to school, and then we have to get trained in January. How to respond. Now, some of those videos that you saw with the students beating up the teacher, that's the population of kids I work with. Mm-hmm. So I have had a desk thrown at me.
Whoa, a whole desk.
A whole desk.
Oh my God.
Strong kid.
I've been spit on. I've been bitten. I've been hit. You know, they had pencils. I'm talking about, these are kids that are very hostile, but we're still trying to deal with them. So you mean to tell me the police that's trying to deal with millions of people is not required that they go on the special trainings? Everybody? So, I ain't trying to really defend the police. They need to be. That
bums me out.
They need to be divested. I'm gonna say that they needs to be divested. Chicago police spend $1.5 billion a year.
Yeah.
On just in general?
No, policing.
Oh,
we
yeah.
ain't talking about other public safety aspects. We're talking about just strictly policing.
So I know one of the recent initiatives was to give more police officers tasers and non-lethal training.
Nah.
Have you seen any difference?
No, and no. Mm-hmm. I think that Eddie Johnson is just continuing the cycle as McCarthy and the rest of them. Mm-hmm. That's an insult for you to sit up here and say crime is down.
Yeah.
How is it down? Like, my thing of it is, you look at violence, you got to look at the root cause of violence. So if you haven't put anything into the violence to stop the violence, how is it going down? You just wasn't reporting it.
Exactly. They stop reporting. They stop arresting people.
They stop arresting people to try to say the whole policing thing or whatever, I guess, to teach the community a lesson. But at the end of the day, listen, you was arresting people, that was still bad for the community. What it's going to take for the community is reinvestment.
Yeah.
Give us half of that $1.5 billion into the communities that's impacted by gun violence and see what's going to happen.
You don't even need half that.
Yeah.
That's
matter of fact,
$1.5 billion?
Yeah, this we're working on the Office of Violence Prevention under the Live Free Chicago campaign. And we're asking just for $30 million to have an Office of Violence Prevention, because Office of Violence Prevention, treating it like a public health issue. Everything is in his office that basically cure violence instead of it being everywhere. So that's $30 million. New York has it, Milwaukee has it, and Richmond, California have it. And it's working. Their numbers are declining.
Oh, wow.
We don't have anything. You know, we barely have mental treatment. So it's like, to me, they want us to be in this situation.
All right, now I'm going to ask the question that I hate to ask, but do you think Trump is doing anything as president for Chicago?
I mean, I ain't really never paid him no attention.
Yeah.
Like, just think about Trump. How did we know Trump? We knew Trump through Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? We knew Trump through music, through him playing in movies. So I could never take him serious. Like, I still, somewhere in my mind, I believe it's a joke somewhere. I just do, because I just don't pay him no attention, and I don't really want to focus on Trump. I want to hold Rahm accountable.
Yeah.
I want to hold the aldermen accountable. I want to hold the state, Illinois General Assembly accountable. I want to hold our congressional people accountable that service this state. Because it's y'all. It's y'all that needs to go back to D.C. and pressure y'all colleagues. Like, when there's a mass shooting, y'all want to stand up and walk out. Walk out for us. Act the fool for us.
Why do you... I mean, the reason I asked is because Chicago is such a political talking point. You know, Trump's campaigning, saying, "Oh, we got to bring the feds into Chicago." Then you get, I mean, even Kanye West. I think it was...
Ain't no fed. Listen, the feds gonna leave Chicago. If I was them, I'd leave too. The ATF, you got one shot in the face. You had one that was robbed.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, ATF person was shot in the face, what, a week ago, and they caught the person?
Whoa.
Y'all ain't see that?
No, I missed that.
Listen, Eddie Johnson went on a manhunt for like 4 days and locked down the back of the yards community. If you go look at it and Google it on the internet, they like basically made it a state of emergency over in the back of the yards community.
Wow.
And they found the person who did it. Probably in December. A 17-year-old, they say he was 17. They probably just found anybody. Stole the car of a Fed person. So they probably like, I don't want to come in there either.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take investment. If you talk to these young guys, you talk to these young girls, they'll tell you, like, I want to go to school to be a nurse. I want to go to school to do this. I want to go to school to do that. I want to be a rapper. I want to be a cook. But it's no outlet for them.
Yeah.
They taking everything away.
Yeah.
When you close schools down in the community that basically teaches kids their identity, like when they close a lot of these schools, they basically took away our African American history. Marcus Garvey. How else you gonna hear about a Marcus Garvey? Emmett Till, Betty Ross. So it's like they teaching us not to know ourselves and to respect ourselves and to respect history.
I mean, I feel like, you know, when I grew up in it wasn't as bad, but it's South Side. But we all skated, and that pulled, you know, I know a bunch of kids who joined gangs.
Yeah.
And the kids who were skateboarding and smoking weed never did anything wrong. I mean, we trespass sometimes. We get in trouble for that because we're skating. But I always felt like, you know, kids need something to do, but they need something to feel proud of.
Yeah.
And so, you know, whenever I looked at these neighborhoods where it's really bad, like even where I grew up, there's literally nothing to do. So what do the kids do? They hang out on the stoop, drinking a 40 or smoking weed.
Let me and I'm glad you said it, because y'all probably like, what? So I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and so I lived on the east side, over by Jackson Park, and then I moved to the south side, so different parts of Inglewood. Now that I've moved out and established for myself, I have to have grass in front of my house. Mm-hmm. I have to make sure that my grass is green and is cut, and I have solar lights, because that makes me feel proud. Growing up, it's my pet peeve to see patches and dirt. Like, I really like grass. It makes me feel proud to see a community that's upkept. It makes me feel proud to see a park that doesn't have drug paraphernalia outside or spray paint gang signs.
But
it makes me proud to see that.
I feel like for these kids, and I could be wrong, but this is just, from my perspective growing up, that's what makes them feel proud. Tagging, being in a gang makes them feel strong. Like
but
they're
that
doing
goes
something.
back to what I said. Any attention
Exactly.
is attention.
Yep.
Exactly.
So when you're not giving, when a child don't feel like they're getting attention at home, whether good or bad, it don't matter. They're going to go get it from somewhere.
Yep.
I had a student tell me, it don't matter. When I act up and I do stuff, and you call my mama, that's the only time my mama talk to me.
Wow.
That's the only time I get a time with my parents. Wow. And then 2, we just have to rebuild a village in our community in Chicago. They say one Chicago, but no, we need to build that village in each community. Go back, I know it sounds old school, go back to the neighbor downstairs, really, looking out for the kids or playing with the kids. I'm going to play with my kids. I'm going to play with the kids on the block because I love children. I'm going to expose them to different things.
There needs to be, opportunity. I mean, that's the obvious one that everyone talks about. So I did a documentary about real estate in Ferguson, St. Louis. And one of the things, there's a big part of, I guess, I don't know how to describe it, but what keeps communities impoverished is that when the property value is down, there's no property taxes, there's no new roads, there's no schools, there's no hospitals, and you end up with kids playing in the dirt. There's no, after school programs could be huge. But if the kids don't have anything to do, then they're gonna figure out their own thing by themselves. Yeah. There's gonna be gang violence. I mean, I've never joined a gang. But I feel like when these kids go out with guns to shoot that, the other person who was rang on them,
it's giving them something that they're missing. A lot of people say, "How could you join a gang?" Regardless, that person, that clique is giving you love.
Yep.
Is entertaining you.
It's family.
It's a family. It's a family structure. I had a student tell me, he sat on my desk, and he said, "What's up, Williams?" I said, my kids call me Miss Williams or Williams. He said, "Look, it's about time for me to go back to jail." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I miss that structure."
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like they look for something. He said, "I miss that guidance."
Yeah.
And this is a 16-year-old kid saying he missed that guidance. When to get up, how to, make up your bed, time to brush your teeth, all that. Whatever they doing there that I don't want to go find out that they do, but...
This is kind of weird for me to say, but would joining the army be a better option?
But see, that's the thing. With a lot of kids, we say join the army, but let's be realistic. And another thing that we don't talk about, a lot of them can't read.
Oh, wow.
Can't write. I had seniors that was actually pushed through. So, I'm just going to say I'm not a fan of Teach for America. I think that the programs need to be restructured. So, a Teach for America person could not handle the school that she was put in. And I don't blame her. This is not what you used to. Yeah. So she quit. So I had to take over an economics class. And I don't believe in passing kids. If you don't do the work, I'm not going to give you an A. Yeah. I'm not going to give you a B. I'm not going to give you a C. I'm going to give you what you deserve. A D, F, or a U. So I remember I gave a couple of students failing grades. And when the report card came up, the system changed their grades. And when I went to the caseworker, she said, "Williams, welcome to being a teacher / administrator." I was a dean too.
Why did they change the grade?
Because
they didn't want to keep them.
Because they got to pass.
Yeah, they got to pass.
That's I don't know a whole lot about it. No Child Left Behind.
Try reading those 612 pages, and then we can have a conversation on it. I'm not favorable of that either.
But one of the things I heard was that in order to keep the numbers even for schools, they're going to just lie, or they're going to expel kids. Not actually servicing them.
But see, they got SB 100, and I'm not favorable of that either.
What is that
Because SB 100 is supposed to, basically, you can't expel a kid or suspend a kid outside of school. They typically have to do inside suspension. But the thing about it is the re-entry. How do you put them back into regular school? I had a student who came to me for in school. He was there for 10 days from another school. We was housing him, a CIVS program. And he set a girl hair on fire. and he thought nothing was wrong with it.
What?
Nothing. And I was like, not only, I said, this is a smack on the wrist because you could have got charged with attempted murder.
Oh my God.
You could have set the building on fire. He was like, it was just smoking.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's a lot of kids that when it's a badge of honor to get suspended.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't want to be in class. Why they don't want to be in class? Because they can't read, they can't write, and they don't want people to make fun of them. Other situations is that the home life. I remember I had a student that a takeoff soon, he'll go through the metal detector, he'll just take off running. And we'll literally have to find him.
Wow.
So he was so little, he'll be in the cabinet.
Oh.
So I said, boy, if you don't get down, he said, please, Miss Williams, I can't go to class. Please, look down. He had on mismatched shoes.
He's
So
embarrassed.
he had on mismatched shoes. He's in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So then when they come to school, not smelling too good, they act up because they want to get out. So, me, I can admit I probably broke every rule in the school book because I bought gym shoes, I bought uniforms, I used to keep food in my office. I go cuss out the cafeteria person because he wouldn't give extra cereal or extra milk. I'm like, but this my tax dollars.
Yeah.
I was like, this cereal is going to sit here for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Give it to the kids.
Seriously.
And then you throwing the food in the garbage, and they're from areas that are very, 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 very economically deprived, because now we're not just talking about Chicago. We're talking about the suburban communities that are doing a lot worse than Chicago.
Yeah.
The violence is all-time high out there. So, it's just we need to do a better job just as a community.
Do you ever get resentment from these kids or from maybe gangs that... I mean, you mentioned people getting mad, you're trying to take their guns away, which is
the people that got mad was NRA people that's not going to come see me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, please come to my neighborhood. I want to introduce you to some people I know, and then you can be like, all right, so when we going?
Yeah.
So, do you want me to pay your plane ticket? And then I say, okay, well, let them move in your community and let them do what they do, and we'll be okay. Because, again, it's unfortunately that I've known some people and still know some people that's not even convicted felony, but literally will go and get these guns.
And it's because they have clean records or what?
Because they got clean records.
Yeah.
And then, come on now, like, they know the law.
Yeah.
This stuff is on the internet. You know the loopholes. I had a couple of friends that did get caught. Like, one of my friends, Shonda Faye Thompson, was killed picking up her daughter's birthday cake in 2012.
Oh, wow.
And the person that got the assault weapon, he went to an Indiana gun shop. Easy to set up residency. Got it. Spent like $500 for it. They produced the receipt. He, didn't have a record. Came back, intentionally bought the gun to intentionally kill the dude that was with her. So he didn't want any witnesses, so he killed everybody in the car.
Whoa.
In broad daylight on 87th and King Drive.
They caught him?
Yeah. That's how we know all this.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I figured.
Yeah. It came out of court. Then, when you look at Starkeisha Reed, when the assault weapon came, Cottrell Weeks used the assault weapon when he sprayed down Honoree on a Friday morning. A bullet came through the window and hit her in her eye. She was getting ready for school. Oof. Could you imagine getting ready for school and then a bullet hit you and then you dead instantly? That's her story. But then when he got caught, guess what? $150 from an Indiana gun shop. The ATF was already looking at him because he was purchasing too many high-powered weapons. He didn't have a record, but he used a fake ID. But then let me tell you, the gun dealer came and testified against him and said, I kind of figured it was fake, but my family got to eat too. So we looked at each other like, you got to eat too. She's gone.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So wrist smack on the hand.
The dealer didn't get in trouble?
Because he gave all the evidence of the record of sales, the video, and he testified.
Wow.
So this is why I do what I do as far as the guns thing, because of situations like that. I don't care nothing about all that other stuff that they got going on. Whatever. Let's just deal with what's going on in my community.
Yeah.
So what's an assault weapon to you? Because it's kind of defined differently across the U.S.
Look, a hood-made assault weapon when you get a handgun and put an extended clip on there. I know y'all been seeing that blood.
And do they modify them for full auto?
So, it's we still having a conversation on that because I know the Blair Hall assault weapons ban of Cook County, they was making some amendments on that in January. Mm-hmm. So I have to really look at it. I know they was adding stuff. So, but I mean, they making assault weapons now.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll go get a look. I'm talking about, I was seeing on some of these little ghetto videos where they talking about shooting people. They had a gun about this small, but a little clip about that long. And I'm like, that's it. Now, that's just foolishness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you see the problem when you look at the problem.
Yeah.
Like, the young man that boldly talked about murdering my cousin, talking about he flew like a bird because they hit him with a car. He talks about his 30 popper. He's shooting people with his 30 popper.
Is that something he made?
You gotta be.
Yeah.
It's because it's not a real name or what?
They always making up stuff.
Yeah.
So, but that conversation really don't have nothing to do with the NRA to me.
Yeah. You mentioned just like a little while ago the walkouts they were doing in protest of these mass shootings. You seem disappointed.
Because May 10th made 11 years that Blair Hope was shot and killed on a bus. It was a mass shooting. Because 5 people were shot total and he was killed. That next day on the 12th, we all walked out. That year, I think it was probably between 45 to 50 CPS students killed.
Wow.
That year.
Wow.
We filled the stands of Soldier Fields.
Whoa.
And this was 11 years ago. Uh-huh. I was 18. So we been walking out.
Yeah.
We been crying. But let me tell you this, go deeper. In 83, 82, Benjamin Wilson, 17 years old, was killed from Simeon High School, the #1 basketball player in America. Blair's bill was once Benji's bill. I remember the students of Simeon, when I went and looked at the documentaries, also walked out, and they wrapped around the whole city hall. So these walkouts is nothing new. Mm-hmm. Half of these people that's sitting in City Hall and sitting in Congress, they was there around the time Benji was killed.
Yeah.
It's just you chose not to pay attention to it.
Yep.
Because it didn't look sexy.
Mm-hmm.
So why now?
They still not paying attention to us.
Right. No, they're paying attention to the kids in Florida.
They giving these kids a platform, and these kids are still privileged. I sat with some of the students from March 5 Live Chicago at the SEIU building, and I told them I ain't trying to stomp on y'all parade. I ain't trying to do none of that. I said I'm about to be real with y'all. One of my young men, because I work with the kids, Good Kids, Mad City. I worked with them. And you could just hear when they was talking. One of the guys was like, yeah, so y'all going to continue to march? Because I'm ready to go to college in like 50 days. And he was like, well, I graduate in about 68 days from North Lawndale, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get out so I won't get killed. So basically, this young man is basically saying, I need to get out of Chicago because I'm going to become a victim because of my community. Mm-hmm. This other one, he was just like, man, I'm going to college. I know. He is like, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to college, and I ain't got to worry about getting killed.
Yep.
And they asked us, will we continue the March for Our Lives? And I'm like, well, where y'all going to be? Again, away in college.
Yep.
You know, all these organizations gave those young people money. It's always good for young people to stand up. And what broke my heart is that a lot of these organizations are Chicago-based.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You gave these students millions of dollars, but this summer we got to fight for jobs. We got to fight for safe haven. And then you going to be the main one on TV talking about how we going to stop it in these panels, but you giving kids from New York and Parkland and all over money, and you not investing home. That's heartbreaking to me. Yeah. So I
Sounds
told
like
him,
BS.
I
don't trust these groups.
I told him you ain't welcome. I told him if I find out you here, I'm coming in there and I'm shutting your stuff down.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I don't care, because at the end of the day, to me, when you talk about the violence, and I feel like you're using the violence as a platform, you're talking about my loved ones, and it becomes personal.
Yeah.
Like when Speaker Ryan said that gun violence is a political stunt, that was enough for me to get you. Because at that time, I had lost Andre, DeVarier, and Cordero. I lost Jalen 22 days later, and Denzel 23 days later, because they was killed a day apart. Wow. So, to me, it's not a political stunt. To me, it's real. And to sit
you know what I think?
Huh?
I think a lot of these nonprofits, it's the cause is sexy. They can make money off of it.
Oh yeah, I wrote in Bells into Bullets, the Sandy Hook. It was from Brian Clemens, a great supporter of mine. I respect him, respect his family, respect his daughter. They were victims of the Sandy Hook shooting. What I wrote in there, I talked about how gun violence isn't sexy. And it's really traumatizing. And America makes gun violence sexy when you fly kids from a high school in on a Patriots plane. When you give them free access to Fashion Week. Right. When you give them a book deal. Like, seriously. Like, I'm at 31 loved ones to gun violence now.
When it comes to these nonprofits and how they spend money, it's big flashy events, and they raise more money off of it. I don't want to directly insult any of these particular groups because I don't know exactly what they're doing. But
know what? I can say a lot of them insulted us. Mm. You insulted us because we know probably the next big spike in violence will be Memorial Day weekend, and I know that I'm gonna see to end gun violence. Donate here. Yep. But then I have fact-based evidence proof that I've asked you to reinvest or invest into communities that was impacted. When these elected officials come here and they ask me to speak and they say, how could we help you? No, you help people like me. You go back to your city where gun violence and violence is prevalent, and you give that person who feel like me, that young person that feel like me, you invest into that community. That's how you help me. But they just, want to do stuff that look good. Mm.
Yeah.
And it's just,
it's fundraising.
Yeah, like right now in Chicago, it's on a tipping point. I mean, we get ready to have Laquan McDonald trial. We believe that it's going to be not guilty. Yeah. And
people going to riot?
I mean, in Chicago. In Chicago. So, I mean, you Just think about the people in Chicago. Just think about Chicago, what it might look like. So, even with that, and to me, the elected officials are to blame for that. I mean, I've been asking for police accountability. I've been asking for legislation on a county level. I went to Kim Fox. I said, I know you as a state's attorney. You can recommend legislation to a county to make it an ordinance. No. Spoke to Katie Hill. We started talking about it. No follow-up. Spoke to a lot of other high-ranking state officials to say, hey, let's talk about it. Let's get some laws going on. They want to send they watered-down laws, and then they want to sit here and meet with the police first. How do you meet with the police first? So, all I've ever said was, no, you don't need my vote. You need to go get the vote from the police that's not going to vote for you. Because, A, they don't live in your district, and half of them don't like you. Yeah. So, before you put the police first, meet with the people in your district that's hurting. I had to tell an elected official, you got the worst district in America for gun violence and police shootings. Wow. So, I'm going to need for you to stop meeting with the police so often. Because clearly...
the way you say it, it sounds like they don't want it to stop. They don't want to solve the violence.
So... I can go on record and say that I have met with Eddie Johnson because, again, I want people to know that I'm trying. So I'm not just going to protest. I'm not just going to do interviews. I'm not just going to Facebook talk. I do mentor. I do put my own money in the movement. I go to school. I do whatever. I'm even an elected official myself. Mm-hmm. However, I have to sit down and try to get the story. So I can fully say that Eddie Johnson is full of shit. Because I've talked to him. Yeah. I can say, a lot of elected officials, when we have our 101s, they upset. But again, they belong to the machine. And the machine is not saying this is what we want. So since the machine is saying it, now we got to put your head on the stick. Now you have to be our enemy. But like the whole consent decree, from the original one, we thought we was going somewhere. To hold Rom and everybody else accountable for civil rights violations and concealment of criminal evidence, basically Laquan McDonald tape. Come on, man, we know that man saw that.
Do you want to just give people who don't know what the story was, like a general summary of what happened?
Man, look, you gonna make me go outside and start acting fool again. But yes, Laquan McDonald was killed in 2014. He was shot 16 times. He was actually a young man who I basically described, who we talked about this whole time. He was in foster care. He had nobody. You know, if you look at his records, it'll make you cry. If you look at where he was murdered at, he was Target. You know, over there on 51st and 50 what? I think it was 51st, or between 51st and 53rd and Pulaski by the expressway.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's where I grew up.
So how did you shoot him like that? You had to corner him so no other cars can come by.
What was their official explanation for?
They said that he was stabbing cars, and we did see the video of him doing that. You know, just poking at cars. I don't even know if he was breaking the tires, but and then he went one way, and then when you seen him pull it out, I'm talking about the knife about this. It looked like nail file.
Yeah.
Jason Van Dyke, yes, that's your name. That's his name. Shot him 16 times.
Damn.
And the people that stood around, no one stopped them. No one did nothing. They actually covered it up. Because if you go look at the records before, it never said he got shot 16 times. Never said it. It just said that 10 killed by the police, had weapons, had PCP in his system. And this was what? Laquan was killed in October. I remember seeing it in October and November because, election was that February.
Right.
So, yeah, Rom covered it up.
So do you think there's something the police... I mean, obviously the police should have done something else. Do you think there's like a different...
Yeah, they should have stopped him. I mean, okay, if we watch somebody shoot somebody 16 times, what's going to happen to us?
Yeah.
They were like, you ain't trying to call nobody, you ain't trying to stop nobody.
Yep. Well, nobody ever tries to stop police.
And then not only that, you got Rakia's story. There's a 2,500 page cover up on that. Rakia Boyd. You got Ronald.
What was that one? Do you want to?
Yeah,
so people probably don't know these
stories.
So
Rakia Boyd was 21 years old. She was an African American woman. She was out with friends. She was killed by he is an ex detective. You got to put that in there because he wasn't just a regular officer. He was a detective. So you went under some trainings. He came out his house because they did go to court. He came out his house with an unregistered firearm. It wasn't his service weapon, so he was on dirt. You're a police officer. Why you coming out with an unregistered firearm? Came out, no badge, no nothing. Didn't identify himself. Was messing with Raquel and a couple of her friends. Raquel laughed, but her friend and Dante Servin kind of got into it, and he took out a gun and started shooting, and he hit her in the back of the head.
Whoa.
Yeah. So Anita Alvarez basically charged him with second degree involuntary manslaughter. And Judge Dennis Porter, when he acquitted Dante Servin, he said, this is not second degree nothing. This is murder.
Yeah.
Wow. That involuntary manslaughter is like an accident, right?
Yeah.
Like he pulled out a gun.
Yeah.
He had an unregistered gun.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds
sounds like and then
passion murder.
He actually called the police probably like 3 hours or 4 hours before. He lived across the street from the park. You should not move across the street from a park. Come on, it's hot outside. And he said, this is Dante Servin, what I'm going to do to get some effing peace around here. No, you should have called and said, hey, get a squad car. This is Detective Dante Servin, blah, blah.
Yeah. So
you basically had it in your head that what you was going to do because you knew that you could have a record. Then why are you going outside at 12 midnight talking about he was coming home from getting something to eat? So why would you go outside if they making too much noise?
How does he get manslaughter with an unregistered firearm?
Listen, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's Anita Alvarez. and she, he was acquitted. We had to fight to get him fired, so we waited, almost a year after the trial, and like literally 2 days before his termination hearing, he was able to resign with 100% of his pension.
Damn. Chicago cops scare the hell out of me.
Oh, you know why? Because then they go to the south suburbs, because the officer who murdered Darius Pinex and Flint Farmer 6 weeks apart from each other, he ended up becoming a Chicago Heights Park District patrolman.
These kind of conversations get me freaked out.
So, and then Eddie Johnson said, at the time with Dante Servin, is that he cannot, he can put in, why he was under investigation, but he can't say much about the case. And anything before the shooting, he can't take from him. But anything after, he can't take with him. So, basically, he can go somewhere in New York or a small municipal force and be an officer if he wanted to, but we had to do a shaming campaign.
Wasn't the cop who killed Tamir Rice, he was transferred from another department or something for having gun violations or whatever?
Betty Shelby, the one who killed Terrence Clutcher, is actually a sheriff now.
Wow.
So she basically got promoted.
Wow.
Actually,
I think sheriffs are elected, aren't they? That's even kind of worse in my opinion.
Actually, she was a keynote speaker at the National FOP convention, which is I had to act a fool to beg every town for gun safety to step down and pull their sponsorship from last year's FOP convention.
What is an FOP convention?
So it's the Fraternal Order of Police.
Oh, okay.
Convention with all the police officers, and I'm like, first of all, you have the largest survivor network, and you get ready to allow a convicted, not convicted, a person that killed an unarmed black man on camera, and the reason why she was acquitted because the jury was hungry.
Was hungry,
and they was ready to go.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And you allowing her to be a keynote and you giving money.
I feel bad for good cops. The people who actually they take the job because they want to make the community better. Because we hear too many stories of people like these cops who make everybody look bad.
But you know what? If you look at the history of the police, people take jobs to be the cops, but being the police was never safe for African Americans.
Yeah.
If you go historic, who was the one sicking the dogs on African Americans fighting the vote? Who's the ones burning the crosses? Who's the ones covering up the murders? Who covered up the murder for Emmett Till? It was the sheriff department.
In Ferguson, they actually the feds uncovered those emails where the cops were sending each other racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ferguson's bad, and we did this documentary about it, and the whole St. Louis County. I don't know if you know about it.
Oh, I know because
it's a nightmare.
Stranger Fruits. I'm doing a screening here with Michael Brown Sr.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
oh, cool.
And June 1st, so he's coming to Chicago. We're gonna have a panel of families. Rakia's brother, Dorothy Holmes, Archie Marchbank's mother. To have a conversation about the policing issue, because even the gun violence families don't want to associate themselves with the families who lost their kids to policing. Yeah. It's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, because a loss is a loss.
Yeah.
And they come home to an empty room, but they think, it's a stigma. You get killed by the police, you must have caused it.
Yeah.
And it's you got to keep seeing it over and over and over again to believe, okay, see, now they just out here killing people.
I think too many people make it a partisan issue, and when I looked into Ferguson and how the counties are structured in St. Louis, and how one infraction can turn into 7 because of all the different police departments, I know a lot of people who are conservative or right wing or whatever don't want to hear it, because they're like, no, this is not true. These communities are just crime ridden, and I think it's one thing that's really interesting is your criticism of March for Our Lives, right? But and you're a gun owner, but still bringing up these issues of police violence and everything. It's it doesn't fit the traditional politics of this country,
Yeah, because Again, like I said, I ran for office and I was elected. I didn't get money from the Republicans. I didn't get money from the Democrats. I got money from Camilla's pockets and the people that believed in me. It was some brothers that was from the streets that said, we can't walk with you, but here's $40, here's $50. We believe in what you're doing. I know that you're going to help the community. I had some friends that lived in the community, associates, when there was shoots, and I call them and I say, hey, listen, you got to stop these young brothers from shooting. We ain't got nothing to give these young brothers. All we can offer them is weed so they can eat.
Yeah.
So I know them stories, and I'm willing to be open with them stories. I don't care if it don't sound traditional and it don't sound cute. I'm not here for the cuteness, because it's not cute that tomorrow my cousin's mothers will be laying in bed or going to the cemetery. It's not cute that I had to name my son after my cousin who I helped raise. That during holidays we sitting around talking about that we missed our loved ones. So that's not cute. That's painful.
Well, we're getting close to finishing up, but I guess
I did want to talk about we've already kind of talked about March for Their Lives and the money that goes into that, but do you think there are some groups in Chicago that are doing a lot with the money that they get, or even with the little money that they get?
Money that they get? Absolutely. Yeah, it's just, they put us in a barrel, and we got to fight for it. So because we got to fight for it, a lot of organizations get to beefing with each other.
Oh, wow.
So they basically turning a lot of organizations against each other. That's doing the work. So, it is a lot of good coming to Chicago. I do salute the people that's actually trying to do something in Chicago.
Are there any groups specifically that you would
It's a lot of groups in Chicago that's doing a phenomenal job, from high-profile groups to groups that you don't know nothing about. It's everyday people. You mentioned one, Tamika Walton, that's teaching yoga and trauma, helping young mothers. It's amazing groups out here. You got this lady named Latanya, who's taking kids on the CTA bus to see different stuff. There's so many people that's doing something in this city that's not really getting the recognition or getting the recognition. It's just elected officials need to do their job. We do need the village to come back. We do need to assist these parents that don't know how to be parents. They say it starts at home, but how could it start at home when folks don't have a home? When DCFS is at an all-time high, a lot of people are in group homes. So we have to get that village again.
So I only have one more question. I don't know if...
Go ahead.
What's going to happen in the future?
In the future, all I can say for me is I'm going to continue to fight. And I would encourage other people to continue to do what they're doing in the community. That's all I can say for me. I don't know what's going to happen in Chicago. I do want people to vote, but I understand why people not voting, and that's a whole other topic. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks for sitting down and talking with us. It's super interesting. Yeah. This is where I grew up, and it's just so interesting to hear. It's always just, the butt of the political, someone's trying to use Chicago as an example.
Always.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you watched, again, I'm on Twitter at TimCast. My name is Tim Poole, and this was Camilla Williams.
Yes.
Do you have a social media or anything that you want?
So Camilla D. Williams, and then you can always email me, a true warrior, ATRUEWARRIOR17 @yahoo.com.
People might be mad at you.
Listen, you can be mad, but at the end of the day, you're not walking in my shoes. Tell me how you can live through losing 31 loved ones and still able to fight and not be angry.
Yeah. Takes a lot of strength, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And even, that's a whole nother interview to even be an elected official and actually sit at the table and see the foolishness that goes on.
Yeah. Cool.
So
you can find me on Twitter at MomesMolly, MOMESMOLLI.
All right. Stay tuned. There's new videos on my channel every day at 4 p.m. And we do this podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Thank you again, everybody who hung out, watched, and listened. And we'll see you all either tomorrow or next week.